Hey, what's up? This is Elijah. Welcome back to another edition of Glenn's is How I See It. Another episode of Humble Dad. This is going to be a pretty exciting show. Reached out to my frat brother from way back in the day, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'll do that, no problem." And we have some of the similar goals. Like we both, well, he is already a doctor, and I'm attaining to be one. And so this is going to be a pretty interesting conversation about what it is to be a dad. And so I want to welcome none other than Dr. Michael. What it up, sir? Mr. Oak.
How you doing?
I'm
Good.
doing well, man. I'm doing well. Like I'm really. I say the word excited. I hate to use it so much because it's overused. Everybody said so. I'm gonna say elated, right? All right. I'm elated that you decided to join us this evening.
I appreciate the opportunity, man. I think this is a awesome platform, and so I'm no pun intended. I'm humbled to be on here tonight.
That's what's up. That's what's up. I appreciate the pun. So we're gonna get right off into it because I like to. I appreciate your time. What the first question is? What do you feel like the difference between a dad and a father is, or do you feel like there is not a difference?
I mean, I think there's a difference. I think um, it depends on how you use the term, but I think there's an endearment with dad. It's more intimate. It's more personal. I think father for some could just mean biological. And so I think there is some overlapping, but to, and this is just, for me to call somebody my dad, it really would um, mean that there's a connection, a relationship. Uh,
Mm,
we have this modern vernacular, my baby daddy or something like
that
that.
is true. Yeah.
But I think if there's a relationship, intimacy, I think those terms can be unique to each other. But of course, we do know that father is that paternal parent, and
Mm,
so. But I'm. It would seem to be a disconnect to say father, but I mean
yeah.
my son does he called me like father, but
He
uh,
does call you that.
yeah,
Okay.
he tries to talk all crazy and try to have this English accent. I don't know where he get that from.
How old is he?
He's 15. He's 15.
Okay. And
Yeah,
he's saying father.
yeah.
That's awesome. Hey, I haven't heard anybody say that their kid says father. You're the very first. That's
Yeah, he was like, Father, what are you doing today? Oh, Father, what are we
that,
eating tonight? Or something
that's
like this.
that's what's up. So okay, so take me back to when you was a youngster. Like, what was it like growing up? Did you have a father in your life or a father figure in your life? We'll start somewhere around like elementary and then kind of work progress our way on up.
So my story is interesting. My father was from Lagos, Nigeria. He passed away last year.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Um, he we lived together. Uh, I was born in Waco, and at the age of 1, I moved to Miami, Oklahoma,
Wow.
and he was a professor at NEO. And so we when we moved back to Waco, I was around the age of 6, and then he started traveling back and forth to Nigeria, and seemed like each time that he would go, the stays would get longer and longer. And so
Mm,
I really considered myself an only child, and so me and my dad really didn't have a close relationship.
mm,
And even when I speak on it, now at the age that I'm at, it has shaped and molded me in positive and in negative ways. I remember talking to a fellow pastor when I first started pastoring, and we was at lunch, and he was sharing that there was a book called Fraction of a Father.
Okay.
Shared,
Fraction of the father.
yeah, Fraction of a Father, and he shared his testimony how that book um, helped him because not having a father in the household affected him and some of the choices that he made. And then I started to see myself in the same vein of my testimony being, I didn't have a father figure in the house. I did have, uncles I looked up to, or persons in the church, or really because I started playing football at the age of 6. I had coaches, that I looked up to. But it did shape me because I did make a lot of mistakes because I didn't have
Mm,
that father figure in the household to be able to give me good wisdom or say, you may want to think about this differently. And
mm,
but it shaped me positively because of my experience. I wanted to make sure that I stayed in my children's life to make sure that they didn't have that same testimony that I
mm,
had.
yeah.
And so there was a lot of missed opportunities because I remember my father came to. We played a football game, playoff game against Dallas Carter when I
No,
was
wait. What year was that? I guess
90. It was 91,
was that
December.
during the was that? Oh, okay. I remember that. I remember
Yeah,
you went to
and
Waco. What?
Waco High Lions.
Okay.
We played
That was a
Carter.
big time game.
Yeah, he came to the game. We ended up winning that game, by the way. And
What?
we ended up playing Odessa Permian in the semifinals and got beat the next week. But yeah, we we beat Dallas Carter. They weren't too happy with us, but
I'm sure, man.
we
Wow.
winning
Okay.
that game. But he came to that game, and I remember after that, I did not talk to my father until after I graduated college. And
What?
come to find out after, because through my half brothers, that they had moved to Tennessee, and I really, didn't have no, cell phone communication, and so that's why I say, our relationship wasn't as close as I would have liked it to be.
Yeah.
And he was a preacher. Um, Earned his PhD, went to Baylor, did a lot of similar things, and so it wasn't until I became an adult that we started really communicating, and
Oh
he would
wow.
come and visit, and so I have a great relationship with my half brothers. They actually live in the area,
That's cool.
Austin area here, and so we have a great relationship. And so it did affect me growing up, but like I said, there's negatives, but it also shaped me because now I'm more intentional as it relates to being in my children's life, and
Mm,
especially for my son, so that a lot of the mistakes that I made, whether it be with women, money, life, whatever it is, that I can help give him that wisdom, and then he's gonna have to make his own decisions, but at
yeah.
least he can be there as that sounding board.
That's what's up. We kind of have similar stories to a degree. Like my dad is um, he's a preacher. He has been since I can remember. He wasn't in my life. He had I have a half brother. I just call him brother. Uh,
Hmm.
because that's what he is ultimately. And he wasn't. I think it was about maybe around the same age that him and my mother got a divorce. Like,
Hmm.
so he was out of the picture. He was with somebody else, and there was no. He would come get us every now and then, but he would. But it didn't seem like we were spending time with him. It just seemed like we were just coming over because it was his time to have us, right? And I can remember going to college. He took me to college, which was crazy because my mom wanted him to at least drop me off at college, and we taking the ride, and it's so awkward. You know what I'm saying? I don't
Hmm.
talk to the dude at all, but he's taking me to college, and that ride there was one of the weirdest moments I
Yeah.
can describe because I'm having to take a 3 hour trip with somebody I is a stranger to me. You know what I'm saying? Even
Yeah.
though we're biologically connected.
Yeah.
And so who arose to the occasion for me was my uncle, and that's who I interviewed first in these in this Humble Dad podcast. And so and he was the who I looked up to, even though he's only 14 years older than me. He was the one that was always either trying to call us, come to a game,
Mm-hmm.
or or just hang out with us, And so what I learned from, and he was married and he had kids, and so he was one of the few men that I even knew that was, that was married and trying to be doing something. And I don't know how his marriage is. I just know they was together, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so for me, that's what I saw. And then when I became a dad, I kind of looked upon like what would my uncle do, kind of like that in this situation. So I totally like I'm with you when you say, I didn't have my dad, but I had some other people that kind of came along that God put in my life
Mm-hmm.
to kind of I guess break down the or fill in the gap, if you will. And so that's we kind of have similar stories in that manner. So
Yeah.
and especially when you say because he wasn't there, it makes me want to be there even more for my kids, right? So I want to talk about your kids. So how many do you have?
So I have my son, Mari, he's 15. My daughter is 13, Sharon. Then my stepdaughter, Genesis. And so she's 9. So,
Oh, that's what's up. Okay, so they're kind of close in age. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a couple different questions since you say you have a stepdaughter.
mhm.
So the first question I want to know, I want you to take me back to the day that you found out that you was having a kid, right? Tell me about that moment, and then walk me to the day that he was born.
So interesting story that my ex-wife, when we were trying to conceive, it took us a long time.
Mm,
And we was going through all of the testing, and so it was about a year that it was taken, and nothing happened. And so
yeah. Wow.
I remember going to the appointment and starting to get brochures on the whole in vitro and all of this other stuff.
Yeah.
And I looked at the price tag and said, I said, well, we're gonna have to pray on this. We're gonna have to pray on this. But it's interesting. We left, and I said, we just need to be prayerful. And so at that point, we stopped trying. Like, we just kind of took a break of the emotional part of it.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting that I can remember the week that I found out that my grandmother was terminal. That was in December. Uh, Found out that she was terminal on that Monday, and
Wow.
then that about 4 days later, that's when I found out that she was pregnant.
Wow.
So one of the things, me and my grandmother was very close, and so I always wanted her to see my child,
Yeah.
her grandchild, and so it hurt me. But then the crazy part is I really felt like she gave her life for him,
Mm.
because
Interesting.
the very week that found out she was terminal, she ended up passing in January of 2005 and
Mm.
born in September of 2005.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so, and the interesting thing is that me and him share the same birthday,
What?
uh, September the
Yeah.
5th. Yeah, me and my son, September the 5th, and so we was the same weight, the same height, 31 years, 31 minutes apart, and so yeah, and he was actually born on Labor Day, on,
Wow.
on Labor Day. So and then the interesting part is after that, we wasn't worried about having other children, and so my daughter just snuck up on us. We wasn't even trying, and so
Snuck up on.
she snuck up on us, and then interesting thing there. She, as a baby, she would just favor my grandmother so much, and so
Mhm.
my daughter's birthday is um, September the 12th. 2 years, they're 2 years different, and so
That's
we all
crazy.
have our birthdays, within a week apart.
How
But
do y'all?
then
How do y'all?
celebrate.
Yes.
I don't get birthdays anymore, and
Oh, okay.
up until recently, they would do we would do double parties. When they was
Okay.
kids, just had a double party.
Yeah.
And but now they don't really like each other, so they ain't trying to have no party together. So now you got to do the one party one weekend, the party next weekend, and I just try to
Wow.
fit in where I can.
Do they have different friends? So,
Yeah, now they do. Well,
uh,
with the church, you got all the church kids that come to
okay.
both. So they now that school age, my son's a freshman in high school, my daughter's in junior high in the seventh grade, and so
Okay.
now they have the different friends. But it's interesting, man. So we got September the 5th is me and my son's birthday. September the 12th is my daughter's birthday. My wedding anniversary is September the 20th, and my stepdaughter's birthday is September the 27th. So
Wait a minute.
we got
Wait.
every weekend
That's
in September,
crazy. When is your wife's birthday?
December. So
Oh, okay.
she got
So
hers
she gets to
to
shine.
herself,
Yeah.
but we got every weekend in September covered. So
Covered. That's crazy. That's
yeah,
what. Hey, that's a busy month for sure, man.
yeah, and
Then
I
it
can
back
see,
to school
we
too.
all Virgos, and so we all act crazy. So
Yeah. Then you got the back to school too. Is around that
yeah,
time. So y'all got to give. Oh man,
and
all your money.
that was a crazy thing when I was growing up. Having my birthday is September 5th. We when we was coming up, we started school around the 28th or the 29th of August. So I used
Yep.
to always be upset because my birthday would fall either around Labor Day or the first week of school,
Yep.
and, and you don't have that time to be able to let everybody know, hey, my birthday. Kind of like everybody else the rest of the year get all, the celebrations. And I'm like, it's first week of school. Ain't nobody thinking about your birthday. And so,
That's funny.
I find that, yeah.
That's funny. So as you talk about your kids, like, can you talk to me about like what is something about your son, your daughter, like, and your other daughter? What is it that they the resemblance as far as the character? Like, what's something that you see in them that's also in you?
Um, it varies.
Yeah. Okay.
Because my son takes on some of my characteristics and mannerisms. Athletics, he's gifted in athletics and different things like that. And then my daughter is just like mad technology. Like
Okay.
and of course I've spoiled her with that. She got the iPad, the AirPods, the iPhone. She is technology just crazy, and so she get that from me as well. And so I think, but then interesting thing is, once again I'm divorced from their mother, and so um, they were around. My son was around 5 when we got divorced, and my
Mm.
daughter was around 3. And so for many years, that I had to do the every other weekend thing, but we lived about 5 minutes away, so I was able to
Okay.
see them during the week and pick
Okay.
them up from school and stuff like that. But last year they both decided that they want to come stay with their dad, and so they've been living with me for the last year, and so it's been and then here's where the Lord works in.
What?
Before COVID, I was always traveling. Either this convention, this conference, going to preach, going to do that, and so when they decided to come stay, that's when COVID hit. And so I've been able, because not being able to travel for the last year, I've been able to be here.
Mm.
So building that relationship, I take them to school, pick them up,
Wow.
at the end of the night, we sit down, do dinner, and all of the other stuff. And so it's allowed us to really build on that bond, that probably wouldn't have been as strong because I would have been, up and down the road, traveling, doing different things. But for the last year, I've been able to really be here day in and day out for them. And so it's, like I said, it's been a blessing. It's really been a blessing.
That's what's up. So how did they transition with the younger sibling? Like what, because they're coming into her space, if you will, maybe. I don't know how the dynamics were prior, but like what how were they able to coexist, if you will? Did I
So
lose you?
they've known each other pretty much.
Let me see. It shut down, did it? Okay. Let me see what I can do. What I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna take you off, and then you can come back on. Okay. So as we kind of take a small interlude, here we go.
Okay.
There we go.
All right.
No worries.
We back.
Yeah, we back. We good. What
I,
happened?
I
We
think that
good.
was on me, man. So,
No
but
worries.
we still on there?
Yeah, we good. Yeah, we good. You were talking about the. I was
Okay.
asking about how they kind of intermingle, or how did they come together to kind of be in the come into the house. Was what was the conversation like? I guess with the younger sibling, knowing that she's about to have basically her space kind of interrupted, so to speak. Like what was the dynamics there like,
So
or the
Chris,
conversation?
they've been knowing each other pretty much most of their lives, so it really wasn't a big transition.
That's good.
But yeah, just coming in with the family dynamics of how does everybody work, because everybody is kind of like everybody's coming into this new.
Right.
With them staying with me now, trying to learn them, and then also everybody's trying to learn one another. So
Mm,
we've had some interesting trying to dynamics, trying to figure everybody out because everybody had their own way, and we still working out the kinks and different things
okay.
like that. But
Yeah.
as far as cleanliness and all this other stuff, I see a lot of that. When I was growing up, I see that in my family.
Okay. Let me try this again. I wonder. All right. Here we go. So as we pause, and we're talking about how the dynamics of kids coming into a place that they are having to well, the youngest is having to give up her space, right, and then the others are literally coming into a new place, right? And so the good thing is that they didn't have to do a lot of transitioning as it relates to knowing each other. Like the getting to know you stage had already taken place. Now it's just a matter of like trying to get to know the person individually. Is that what you were trying to say?
Yeah, yeah, just trying to know each other individually and trying to mesh with everybody with personalities. And like I said, I grew up as an only child, so
Oh man,
this 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 sibling rivalry that my son and my daughter have. I'm just like,
what is it?
you're killing me, But
Yeah.
they go back and forth, and then they love on each other later. They go back and forth, so
Man, I
it,
don't feel too
it,
bad then, because that happens in my house. Me and my wife, we're the oldest of our siblings, so and we're like 4.5 years or more. Well, I'm 4.5 older than my brother, and 10 older than my sister, and she's probably like 10 or 14 years older than her brothers and sisters. So like we don't understand what is going on and when they having these arguments. But yeah, that's what we find out. It's just it's a thing.
it
This
is.
is this
It
is
is.
what they do. But man,
I'm
it's
learning to
hard to.
understand it. I'm learning to understand
So
it.
do you when they're having their as we I want to ask that question because we have the dynamic. We just had this conversation this morning with my own kids. I was talking to them about can anybody say good things about them or something like that, and just talking about character and how John the Baptist was able to, like, when they was asking him, "Are you Christ? Are you Elijah? Are you the prophet?" The reason why they're asking those type, they didn't ask him, "Were you a thief?" Or they weren't asking him bad characters. They was asking him about good characters, right? Good characteristics, if you will. And I was like, you notice that John the Baptist was able to have good things mentioned about him because of the people that they was comparing him to. And I started asking them, saying, like, what is it that can anybody say anything good about you? And so they wasn't sure. And I told them that people have said some good things about them as kids at the church. And then they started talking about each other and saying that, like, the two, I have four, by the way, 11, Gianna's 11, Joshua's 9, Ethan's 7, and Jordana is almost 3 next month. And so the boys are best friends. Okay.
Mhm.
And so they never really complain about each other. However, they both will bother Gianna. And so they were saying that, Gianna is mean to them, right? And she's saying, well, I'm not mean. I'm just trying to tell you what you need to do, basically.
Mhm.
And so trying to get them to just, and I stood back, like I ain't say anything because I just wanted to see where the conversation was going to go. But typically they don't have that space to just, I won't say have the space, but they don't typically just talk about how they feel. They usually just lash out, right? So how do you, are trying to figure out how to help them communicate, even though we would say it's a sibling rivalry, but you don't want them to not like each other, right? So how do you help them communicate their thoughts toward each other? Does that make sense?
It does, and like I said, I'm on this learning curve
Right.
of how to do it, but I'm really just instilling and continuing to instill in them, the love that they have to have for one another. Um, Making sure that my son, hey, no one disrespects your sister and vice versa.
Okay.
So I've threatened them to pull a Cosby show, when Cliff Huxtable put Rudy and Vanessa in the same room together because they were
Yeah.
going at it all day. I threatened to do that or handcuff them together, but
Oh my goodness. Would,
but
would you do that?
no, I wouldn't handcuff them. But I don't know. Some of that
Would you
they
put them in the same room?
be going. I haven't yet. I've threatened them with it. I
Oh,
haven't
okay.
yet, but
It's
um,
on the table.
yeah. But I just try to get them to understand, how it feels, and they don't like it if outsiders talk about them, and so, or make them feel a certain way, and so I say, well, you're doing the same thing to your brother or your sister, and so
Mm.
getting them to understand that, hey, we got to respect each other, and because when my kids was smaller, they hated getting in trouble,
Yeah.
but um they would try to get each other in trouble because
Yeah.
to be to be the one, they like seeing each other get in trouble.
Yes.
And funny story, and I know they would kill me if they know I was telling this, but one day I picked them up from elementary, and one of them passed gas in the car, and so I asked them, I said, well, who passed? And so they both of them was denying it. Now there's three of us in the car, and if I did it, I know I would say I did it, but they
That's
just
hilarious.
kept on, and finally I was like, I was getting upset because I'm like, one of y'all is lying.
One of them got to be one.
And so what I did, they both like getting something to eat after school because they be hungry. I say, well, you know what? Since y'all, can't tell the truth, I'm not buying y'all nothing to eat. And my son went ballistic because he was hungry. He was just crying, having a fit, and all of this. And my daughter just sitting back there chilling, and they let me know
It
who
was
who was the culprit. And so finally she fessed up, and I'm like, Sharon, why did it take all of the, your son about to have an asthma attack? I mean, your brother about to have an asthma attack, and
Wow.
you just would. And I'm like, why did you lie? And she told me, I didn't want y'all talking about me. I'm like, really? It's things like that. It's just
You
it
would
was,
let her get in trouble?
yeah, it's amazing, man. But they love to see each other get in trouble. So
That's
now
hilarious.
a little bit better the older that they get. But I mean, to answer your question, it's a learning curve, especially now. They're teenagers, and so they're dealing with different things. They're being exposed to a lot of different things in school, and so making sure that they balance out. Hey, you're a PK, so you know what the Lord says do. You've been
That's tough. Yeah.
a lot of worldly stuff, and so here's how you balance that stuff out, and trying to help them, in that vein.
That's what's up. So your other one, your youngest one is 9, is that right?
So,
Okay, so how has she where she fit in as far as, because you have a what is 9, 13, and 15, so there's
mm,
somewhat of a gap. So does she lean toward hanging out with one or the other, or does she want to confine it to her own space? How does she operate in having two, her brother and her sister coming into the house?
now her and her sister, they thick as thieves, so they
Okay.
hang out. My son is the one that's left out because he just
Yeah.
like, I can't relate to nothing they doing. So uh,
Okay.
so yeah, that's what I said. It hadn't really been that much of a challenge because they hang out together, and even though there's a little age, a few years difference, they for the most part they get along, and so
That's
they
okay.
get most of the time.
So,
Yeah.
so what have you? I guess what's the takeaway that you've had thus far from this new environment, if you will? Well, let me go back. Like, what? Why did you say yes? Because the reason why I ask is because not every man will step up and say, "Okay, yes, I'll take my kid." So that's why I want to encourage those that are just saying like, "No, no, you just stay with your mom." Talk to us about like why did you say yes to them coming to live with you?
I mean, it was simply that's what they wanted to do, and so it wasn't even a second thought, and my son, they both kind of wanted to build their relationship with me, and so it was just something that they wanted to do, and so I really didn't have a second thought, like I said, I've always had space for them, always part of my life, so uh, the major transition was is just the amount of food that we go through in a week, man. It's crazy.
Oh,
You know,
how much food do y'all
we
go through in a
literally
week
have to go through. We literally gotta go to Costco, and whenever we buy milk, we buy at least 2 or 3 gallons at a time. It don't
for the
nothing
week?
spoils, yeah, for a week, and the difference is they all have different tastes. So, even sitting there now, my son is texting me talking about what's for dinner. So everybody wants their own meal and act like I'm a butler, a chef, a cook, or something,
Yeah,
and their favorite question is, "Are we on our own?" And me, because me and my wife may be on the diet or trying to eat right,
yeah,
and they don't do it. Well, y'all gonna have to figure something out. Some peanut
we
butter
do
jelly,
that too.
pizza rolls, something, find something in there. How it was growing up. They want to come talking about daddy, we ain't got nothing to eat. And then we got a refrigerator in the garage, refrigerator in the house, deep freeze. It's something y'all just don't want to cook
Y'all
or
want to?
eat in there, so that you got to take it back to old school the way we came up, and you
Yes.
know they bougie. They like Chipotle, they like crab legs and crawfish and all that, man. And so yeah,
That's
I'm trying.
hilarious.
That's the biggest difference is the amount of food that and how much money we spend on food each week. But
Oh man.
but it's like I said, it's been a blessing and to be able to watch them. just grow in the day to day. Um, and then it was a challenge with COVID because um, up until a couple of weeks ago, they was virtual since last year.
Okay,
And so
yes.
I made them go back to school this last this last
Why
this
why
last
did you make
month.
them go back to school?
This learning in front of the computer just wasn't getting it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
for me to have to go up and stand over them, like man, I didn't get my teaching degree, so I know we call y'all teachers, but that's y'all calling, man. And so,
Yeah, for sure.
but especially my daughter, her grades were slipping because trying to learn off a computer every day, virtual, you get
Yeah.
lazy,
It's
and
tough.
and
Hmm.
so now that she's back in school, she's doing well,
That's good.
and so just having, kind of okay, it's good. Now I can have the house to myself during the day to be able to do what I need to do. So, but it's been a blessing. It's been a blessing.
That's what's up. So as you have so you have the three kids. So when do y'all start discussing like the mature conversations? And then when do you discuss college, or not even college, but like what are you gonna do after you leave the house? Like when does those conversations into the house?
I mean, we really been having those conversations. Mature conversations, like we just had one last night about my son and his girlfriend, and just
Okay.
down that road. But I haven't felt. I think a lot of times we feel like our kids can't handle certain conversations, but not realizing that they're getting it at school. They're dealing
Uh,
with a whole lot of issues, and so if we're not either at the home or at the church helping them to navigate, then we're leaving the world and their friends to help them
mm,
figure out what it is they need to figure out. And so
wow.
I don't shy away from
Good point.
really any conversation with them because I used to go through their phones and their text messages and some of this stuff, man. I'm like, wow, we wasn't talking like this when I was
Wow.
in seventh, eighth, and ninth grade. And so
Yeah.
I feel it's important to that I direct the narrative of
Okay.
these and not allow somebody else to influence them because I'm failing to have these conversations with them.
Mm,
As far as like college and after they get out of here, my nonprofit we do HBCU college trips during the summer,
okay. That's
and
what's up.
we
You have to
weren't
give me that information.
yeah we weren't able to do it last year, but the last year before last we took a trip. We took the kids to Louisiana to Grambling, and then we went to Atlanta, went to Clark, Atlanta, and Morehouse, and then we took them to DC to Howard and the
Okay.
African American Museum, and so
Yeah.
of course my kids went on the trip, and so they were able to see these colleges, and they know that this is a passion of mine, and I've taken them to SFA back to our stomping grounds, and
Mm,
my wife is she's a graduate and alumni of Grambling, and so
okay.
we just went to their first home game a couple of weeks ago. So they've been exposed to college, and so they kind of know that that's pretty much the path that they want to be on. And so
Mm,
it just my job is to help them reach their potential and it is what they want to do and accomplish. Uh,
that's what's
so
up.
so
And
yeah,
she,
I don't shy away from no conversation.
that's what's up. So are they, um, so they've all said that they want to go, or is that something that you all are saying that you gotta go? Like, what's that type of
It's
conversation?
one of them unwritten rules that I ain't said you got to, but you got to.
Oh,
And, unless they have a valid reason as to why they don't want to
yeah.
go. But
Okay.
I think they're both interested
Okay.
in going, and I think because they've seen my journey
Mm,
educationally,
that's
uh,
fair.
my son, both of them were born when I completed my master's of divinity from Baylor, and
Okay.
then they went through the process of me getting my doctorate degree. And so
Okay.
last year, when I graduated, of course, because of COVID, we didn't have a traditional commencement. They did it
Yeah.
on the TV. And so we have an opportunity next month to actually go and do the commencement with the class of
Okay.
2021.
Where is it at?
It's going to be in Dallas because I graduated from Dallas Theological Seminary. So it's at
Oh,
one of
okay.
Dallas, yeah. And so
That's
at
what's
first I
up.
wasn't gonna go. I'm like, I got the degree, ain't no point in me walking. It's old news now, but she said I need to do it for the kids, so I'm gonna go ahead and go and walk just for them, so that they can see, because when I did it for my masters, they were young, so they can see it and just kind of get that experience to me.
That's what's up. So, what made you want to take the path of education? Seems though that you said that you didn't have a father figure. Well, you didn't say you didn't have a father figure. You just said that your dad was in and out of your life, but he was a professor. So, like, what made is it was he the one that made you want to do that? Like, what kind of help me out trying to
You
put the
talk
pieces
as far
together.
as just like the level of education, or just like
Yeah, what makes you?
coming to
Yeah,
college?
yeah, not well. College is when we grow up, it wasn't. That's what it was. Like it wasn't. Okay, let's try to do something outside of college. So
Yeah,
I'm aware of how you probably got that. But
yeah.
what makes you want to get to the doctorate degree, um, and then specifically get it in theology?
hmm So I announced my calling in 2003, and I preached my first sermon in 2003. And
Okay.
funny thing, at that point, I was actually enrolled in the University of Phoenix because I was going to get my master's in marketing because my undergrad was in marketing from
That's
SFA. So
crazy.
when I
That's what I
announced
got
my
my master's in is in marketing.
yeah, so when I
That's
announced
crazy.
my calling, I was like, I feel preaching wise that we need to be educated, and so to me, seminary was the route to go, and so enrolled in seminary at Baylor. Did the driving back and forth to Waco for 5 years while working a full time job, and then started pastoring in the middle of that. So it was some rough times, and that in the middle I did think about stopping and quitting because it was just so much. But I also said I'm halfway done, and so I didn't want to waste what I had already put into it.
Yeah.
And so through the Lord's help, we finished, and so then I was like, I'm good, I'm done,
Yeah.
and then once again, Lord just started speaking to me. I was bivocational when I started pastoring, and so
Okay.
um, my company ended up laying off our whole department, and so at that point, I went full time pastor. But at the same time, I got laid off is when I got accepted into DTS, and
Wow.
uh, so I started that, and I just enjoy. I'm not. I didn't do it for the titles, but I want to be. When I stand to preach, I want to make sure that I'm doing it with knowledge and correctness. You know,
Yeah.
um, my doctorate is in advanced expository preaching, and so I'm
Okay. Yeah.
really making sure that what I'm preaching is what
You break it
what
down in this text, home.
it
Yeah.
was fixed. So really, it just kind of evolved. It
Okay.
wasn't, but I did, like I said, my dad, he had his story when his dad passed when he was young, and in that culture in Africa, a single mother couldn't raise a family, so he had
Oh.
to go live with his uncles, and they treated him like a slave, and so the missionaries sent him over to the states, and he went to Howard Payne and finished his bachelor's in like 3 years, He got two masters from Baylor, and that's when he met my mom. He was one of the associate ministers at the church that my mom was a member at.
Wow.
He was in Baylor, got two masters, and then he got his PhD in political science from
Wow.
Oklahoma State. And so he, he had that education, and I saw that growing. I knew that he went that route. Knew that he had, we had the DNA to do it. So it
Yeah.
just kind of have to have that desire to. And me and my brothers, we are all go getters. Like got our hands in a lot of stuff. And so I think that that's the African in us, where always doing something. I can't sit still. Got nonprofit, got other companies doing this, doing that, just always
Yeah.
staying focused and because I also want to pass that down to my children and say, hey, you can do whatever you want to do. You just gotta work hard and just know you can achieve it and obtain it.
That's
So
what's up.
a lot of that was for them, and a lot of me doing it early was because when they got to this age, where the teenagers and they're starting to really be active with sports
yeah.
and stuff, I didn't want to be missing.
That
I
was
didn't want
me.
to, and I'm in school or I can't come to your games and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So a lot of that push to get it done, and with me graduating at the age of 45 with my doctorate, a lot of that had to do with I wanted to be here for my kids when they got to be a
That's
certain age.
that's what's up. Thank you for sharing that. That like it's crazy how similar stories that we have in the context of seeking the higher degree, not necessarily for the title, but for the you like the knowledge and you want to be very well versed in what it is that you're dialoguing about. Mine is in, like I told you before, it's in business administration because I like to see I like organization. Like it's just very challenging for me to um, see something and then it's logistically out of order. Like it bothers me in that regard. And what's crazy is that I was about to stop doing my degree because I got into real estate investing and I saw that this was going to be an avenue that I wanted to transition to. And then I talked to one of my advisors, and they was like, um, you're almost done." I was like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I'm just taking classes." And then when I saw how much I was going to owe if I would have stopped without, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna just have to suck this up.
Yeah,
And then prior to that, me starting, I was like, okay, if I start now, I should be able to be done before my oldest is like in the sixth grade or starting sixth grade. Well, I'm a year off, so to speak. I told her I'll be done by the end of her sixth grade year. It may be like the beginning of her seventh, right? And so I'm just like you in that way that I wanted to have as much time. I wanted to reach this goal, but when the I guess the precipice of when they're growing, like I wanted to be in that moment, because I, as a middle school teacher, I'm not that anymore, but I saw how detrimental it was when the parent pulled off from them in middle school
yeah,
versus the parent that was still connected to their kid, and what it did for their psyche as well as for their growth moving forward. And so I like you wanted to do that as well. So I
yeah.
appreciate you sharing. Yeah. So would you about to say something?
No, no, no. I
No.
was just agreeing with you, man. So that's
That's
some
what's
good.
up. So we're gonna get into the questions. All right.
Okay.
These are some get to know you. You're gonna give me a number between 1 and 40, 45, and then I'm gonna read it and then you answer it the best way you want to. What's your first number?
Let's go with 11.
Okay. The first question is, when did you have your first kiss?
When I had my first kiss.
That's the question.
Oh man. Oh man, this is embarrassing. Uh, see, I was a little mannish growing up, and so
Okay, I see you finna preface it, Pastor. I
I
got
think I think my first kiss was like at 6 years old, maybe.
you.
And I remember in elementary, one of my neighbors on the street, we used to be up under the car, kissing and all. So yeah, unfortunately, man, it was I picked the wrong
Early.
number. I picked the wrong number. I started
Hey,
early.
I understand. Listen, I got in. I give you a little bit of embarrassing moment for me when I was. I think that's like kindergarten age, right? So I think it was like first grade, kindergarten to first grade. Uh, I think this girl had probably like on a training bra or something, right? And I'm being inquisitive, right? And I pull it and
Wow.
snap it, and man, she's yelling, and then I get in trouble. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I was a little managed myself. All right,
Yeah.
what's your second number?
I'm scared. Let's go with 5.
All right, if you went back to high school, what would you do differently?
Ooh, man. I contrary to a lot of people, man, I had a pretty good high school. Um, I had friends, and I was, vice president of the class, and
Mm,
a lot of
okay.
stuff, man. And, but I guess I would probably take. See, I mean, I was in the Excel classes and all that. Probably some of the girlfriends I had, I probably would have changed if I could go back and do it differently.
So you would
Um,
change it? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, yeah, because that didn't work out too well for me back then.
That's
Um, so yeah, I would I would definitely change that. I probably would also, in hindsight, I had desired to play in the NFL, but not
mm,
realizing that my height would be a hindrance for the position that I played. But
yeah,
once again, it was a blessing, and I was offered scholarships and played that position through, but it didn't position me for the NFL, and that's I didn't know it at that time. But I mean, I really can't name too many, you know,
what's up?
that I would change at high school. Man, I
That's
enjoyed it.
good though.
And yeah, we had fun.
That's good though.
We get ready to have our 30-year reunion next year, but we really have a close knit class, and a
That's
lot
good.
of professionals in our class. So we have fun. We did it big, class of '92 style.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Last number.
So let's go with number 8.
What is the best job you've ever had?
Wow. The I guess I need to define best. Um,
Up to you. You answer however you feel.
yeah, I mean, all of my jobs has prepared me. I don't really consider pastoring a job. I consider it a
Mm,
calling.
okay.
I really can't throw that in the mix. I know this is what I was called to do. But as far as regular jobs, growing up, I've never worked at fast food. Never worked at fast.
Really?
I started out at Apple Tree grocery store and went to the movie
Wow.
theater, and so I kind
Okay.
of did that. And after college, I worked some crazy jobs, telemarketing and security at Steinmart, and substitute teaching. But I guess my best job would be when I worked at Dell Computer. And I
Okay.
was able to travel to Ireland and China,
What?
do some stuff and set up. So that really got me excited about international travel. I never thought
Mm,
I would travel internationally, and that was really the first time. Uh, going to Ireland, going to China, and so since then, of course, I've been many places. Went to Israel about
oh
3 years
wow.
ago, and so. But that was, yeah, Dell Computer probably was my best job, as far as money and stuff. Now,
That's what's
my worst job was in college when I was in Waco in the summer. Uh, I got a job at Fabnet,
What is
and
that?
that Fabnet is where they printed like the football jerseys, like the
Okay.
practice jerseys, and they print the numbers on them and stuff. And
Yeah.
so my job was I had to wear this big old mask, and I had this high pressure gun that if there was a splotch off of the number, I had to shoot it and fix it. Right, man. I was working with people that I couldn't speak their language.
Oh
Uh,
man.
they wanted me to come in at 6 in the morning and get off like at 6 in the afternoon. And so I did it for 2 days. And then the third day I went in and
No.
at lunch I went to my aunt. I walked to my aunt's house. I like I can't go back. And then the next morning I called. I said I'm gonna have to quit because my coach wanted me to come back to to Nacogdoches for football. And man, I left that thing. I couldn't. I couldn't.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Wow.
couldn't.
That's
I
what's
couldn't.
up. Hey,
Yeah,
2 days.
two
Wow.
days. 2 days.
Hey, man.
I,
Okay. Well, when you know you don't want it, hey, some people
nah.
quit sooner than that. So I mean,
If it's a job that I don't like to do, I'm getting up and going in a place that's not fulfilled. I just life is too short. So they
for
had me
sure.
laying brick out there in front of Hall 20 when they did their little pond,
Yes.
and they had me out there laying brick. I think I worked about 3 days, and I said, man, you know what? I'm just gonna eat some green beans and ramen
I'm
noodles
in
the rest of the summer till
Yeah.
and I'm not. Yeah, no,
I used
I'm
to
like,
make. I worked for housing for a couple of years, and I lucked out because most people had to do what you're talking about, like move beds and stuff like that. Well, I
mhm,
got the easy job of just mopping and sweeping like the ROTC building, and like it was a little portable in between the girls' dorm and then like the forestry building, and
yep,
I had to clean the forestry building, and like my boss was so cool, like all I had to do was clean it, and I could go, and he still give me 4 hours. So
wow.
it took me about an hour to do all that. You know what I'm saying? I
That
kept.
that laying brick was the only job I ever worked in Nacogdoches. I'm telling you,
Oh
the only one. And when I was
wow.
at home, if the summers that I was at home, that one job that I didn't finish, and then I think I worked at 7-Eleven for about 2 weeks, and I think I worked at the newspaper, Waco Tribune newspaper, for maybe 2.5 weeks. I ain't stay
Hey,
long.
they say you can't get a job though.
Yeah, I get them, but I ain't. Yeah, so
That's what's up.
I want to be a professional. They look at my size and be like, "Oh, we
We gonna put
we
in the
think we
work.
gonna be lifting," but nah, I couldn't fool with that.
That's what's up. Well, thank you for sharing, man. I really appreciate it. This has been dope. For all those that are listening, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment on it. So we're gonna get into the last two questions. The next to last question is, which TV dad would you say you resemble the most, whether it's characteristics or teaching style or dad style?
I'm gonna have to say I'm gonna have to say Cliff Huxtable. I ain't gonna say Bill
Mm.
Cosby. But I'm gonna say
Somebody
Cliff.
else said that too.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Cliff Huxtable.
Okay.
Only because growing up watching the Cosby Show, I liked how he engaged with his kids, but he also had that sense of humor.
Okay.
Um, and some of the episodes, like how what he did with Theo with the money,
That was
that
episode one, I think.
yeah, that would be me with my
Mm,
son, or
yes.
talking bad about guys, that Denise dated. And then now I'm starting to get long winded with my lectures and stuff.
You
So
too?
yeah, man. So that's how I would have to identify. Family Matters. I'm not Carl. I'm not Philip Banks on The Fresh Prince, and James from Good Time. I show when I'm not a hard head. So I would have to say Cliff Huxtable.
That's what's up. I appreciate you sharing. Then the last question is, what would you like your kids to say about you? How would you want them to remember you?
Really, just that I was there for them, and that I taught them um, how to be the best that they can be. I tell my son, because he, kind of goes back and forth as far as sports and stuff, and I say, I'm really just here to let you know what your options and opportunities are, and something that I didn't have, and what you choose to do with it, is fine. But I said I don't want you getting an adult and looking back and saying, well, I wish, my dad or somebody would have
Yeah.
told me what, and so, I'm pressing on him and my daughter, just to say that hopefully that I've helped them to get through some difficult situations, but also helped them to understand their potential, kind of growing up in life.
That's what's up. Well, thank you for sharing again. And so you have this has been a really good episode of Humble Dad. Um, this is it's cool because we were youngsters in college and now we are grown men with kids, and
Yep.
then just in the transition of you is really encouraging. And I even looked up to you when I first met you, so even more now. So I
I'm,
definitely appreciate the time for sure. So
I'm praying
you,
for you, man. Get that work done. So,
for
all right.
sure, man. You have the final words, man. What would you like to say to the people? I'm gonna take myself off, and then you have the final words.
Well, I'll just say I want to, thank everybody for this opportunity. Thank Elijah for this platform. I think that it's important that fathers know their role, especially what God intended for fathers to be, and that we live up to what treasure that fathers have, um, that God has placed before fathers, and so we have to take that as a plus, and to look at um, what God has allowed us to do through raising our children. And we're going to make mistakes, but we just need to be there, be present, and to be prayerful, that we can invest and pour into our children. So enjoy being on here, and God bless everybody.
That's what's up, man. I appreciate the time. We out here. Deuces.
All right, have a good one, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. You do the same.
All right.